Okay, so Wolfman, right? This is the latest film from Leigh Whannell, who co-wrote it with Corbett Tuck. The film is produced by Jason Blum, executive produced by Ken Kai, Beatrix Sequeira, Melanie Turner, Leigh Whannell, and Ryan Gosling. It's associate produced by Axel Patton and co-produced by John Romano. Benjamin Wolfish took care of the music. Stefan Duskio is taking care of cinematography. Andy Canny is behind the boards on editing. All right, casting was Ali Conova, Sarah Domialindo, and Terry Taylor. Ruby Mathers is production design. On art direction, we have Grace Ashen, Kajus Skulgul, and Melissa Spicer. Megan Vertel is set decoration, and costume design, we have Sarah Voon. Let's go to cast. Right, so we have got Blake, played by Christopher Abbott. Right, his wife Charlotte, played by Julia Garner. Blake's dad Grady, played by Sam Giga. Blake and Charlotte's daughter Ginger, played by Matilda Firth. There's a younger version of Blake, played by Zach Chandler. We've got Derek, right? An older version of Derek, played by Benedict Hardy. Derek's dad, Dan, is voiced by Leigh Whannell. We've got the man, played by Milo Cawthorn. Right, there is the wolf version of Grady, played by Ben Pendergast. And Rob McBride is the SFPD. I don't know what that means. That's the cast, right? The gist of the film, people. A family at a remote farmhouse is attacked by an unseen animal. But as the night stretches on, the father begins to transform into something unrecognizable. So this film had some troubles, to say the least, right? Production-wise, it was all meant to be part of the Dark Universe, right? Universal wanted to create a franchise around the legendary monsters, right? They put out back in the day these monster movies, and they wanted to revive that, Didn't go well. Like, they started with The Mummy. It wasn't received. People didn't enjoy it. I haven't watched it yet. I keep on meaning to take a look just to see, right? But yeah, Mummy wasn't received, so they jettisoned everything. But Leigh Whannell, he did The Invisible Man. And that was a huge success. So it got people thinking, all right, we could do this, but let's do these standalones. So that's how this new iteration of The Wolfman came about. Now, original director dropped out. Ryan Gosling was going to star. He dropped out. So we have what we have. When films go through a lot of that, it can often play on the overall product. I don't know if that was the case here, because I don't like this film. You feel that it's meant to be talking about familial relationships, right? That relationship between, parent and child, and how that can translate to the next generation. That's what I feel they may have been trying to say. Those things do not come across, really. I think you have to look at it and kind of grasp and be like, I feel that's what they were trying to do. Because it just, there's a lot of text at the beginning. Obviously, I couldn't see what the fuck any of that was. Looking on Wikipedia, it may have been something around a hiker going missing, but I can't tell you, people, to be honest. We then have a man and his kid, right? They go hiking. And, the dad is very stern. You know what I mean? He's like, come on, we're going hiking. Get your gun. And then the kid goes to look at mushrooms. He's like, don't do that. Kid runs off and he gets shouted at. Now, it is, you kind of think, there's probably a better way to talk. But on the flip, right? You imagine the conversation, they've had this conversation a lot, right? About touching things without understanding what they are. Because they can be deadly. Like, these mushrooms could kill you, right? Running off, again, you could get attacked. There's wild bears. There's all manner of animals there. So it's dangerous. And he does, talk to the kid in a nicer fashion as well, expressing that he needs to protect him, right? He's not going to be around all the time. So we do get all of this. They see something and they go hide. All is good in the end. And then we jump 30 years forward, right? We've now got an older man with a little girl in the city. Right, we learned that is the older Blake. I mean, you pretty much guess it must be the older kid, right? So that's older Blake. He's got a daughter, right? And she kind of misbehaves and he raises his voice. So you can see that is, the infection, as it were, that has passed down to that, generation from his dad. So that's the kind of thing, like maybe the anger is the wolf, you know what I mean? But we see that, right? When they get home, he's cooking. We don't know what he actually does for work or if he's a stay-at-home dad. We're not quite sure, but we know his wife, Charlotte, is a lawyer. No, she's not a lawyer. She's a journalist. That's it. But she's talking to her boss and he's kind of shouting at her, right? So we kind of see that this relationship is fractious. But then he finds out that his dad has been declared dead. So then we have him go, we should go, right? We should go to the cabin. So they go to the cabin. But with all of this, again, as I said, we don't really know what Blake does for work. The relationships between him and the daughter, him and his wife, are kind of hinted at, but not really fleshed out. Right? We don't know what the relationship between Charlotte and the daughter is. Like, if these things had been fleshed out more, right? If we could really see what might be going on with the marriage, I think it could have helped the film later on, possibly. But yeah, so they're traveling to the farm. It's funny because they get to a bit And I mean, obviously, there's no cell phone signal, right? Obviously. But there's a gate across the road. And then in the following scene, the gate's open. And it's like, wait, who opened the fucking gate? Because I swear, now it might just be my shitty eyesight, but I swear there was a closed gate and then suddenly gates open, right? But we have him bump into Derek, right? A childhood friend, maybe, right? It's just we hear his dad Grady talking to Dan, and Dan's got a kid, Derek. So you're assuming that they probably hung out, played, but we're not quite sure. But yeah, there's a car accident, which then spins everything out. Now, at this point in the film gets very dark visually, you know? I thought there's a deer. I thought it was a deer in the road that led to the car accident. Right? When I looked on Wikipedia, it says an animal kind of chased them off the road. So I'm not quite sure, right? Again, it was dark, so it's hard to see. But they're off the road, right? And yeah, things get crazy. Now, when they're in the house, right, all manner of things, there's no, are you okay? You know, there's no comforting. It's all a bit weird. But we do have a thing of, wait, if they're being chased by a wolf, right, they're not outrunning a wolf. You know, we do have that. But we have these scenarios of them fleeing and looking for shelter, but they're going from unsafe place to unsafer place, right? That's what it seems. That, you know, frequently they are going to places that just are not viable. It doesn't really make any sense. You know, when we have this whole, you know, there's a frantic situation. And it's like, well, what are the reasons for a lack of, let's say, attack? Right? It's not very clear, because there is plenty of times when everyone basically should be dead. So it's odd in that regard. But you're saying, okay, if we're saying there's sentience, then why any of it? But then if there's no sentience, then fine. Then why is everyone still alive? Right? It's a little confusing. Again, I think that's something in the film that is kind of got confused, whether it's like wants to say that people hold on to humanity slightly, but then if they do, what about all the other stuff? You know what I mean? It's the transformations do not look great. Right? They don't look great. Now, there's an interesting thing with the sight, right, of the Wolfman, let's say. I thought that was interesting because obviously animals see differently to humans. But I don't think they kind of see in a neon, right? I don't think they see in that. So where I'm like, oh, interesting concept. Again, it's a little bizarre. It's a little bizarre. I feel that this could have been so much better. But I don't know if it was rushed, if maybe they ran out of budget. I don't know. Because it feels like there's these scenes that with a little bit more care, a little bit more polish, they would have actually worked. But yeah, this finished product it's not very compelling. Right? Not very compelling. Right? When you compare this to Nosferatu all day. And with that, as I mentioned when I broke it down, I couldn't even really see it that clearly, you know, the finer detail. But even with that restriction, it still came across as a better film. So I don't know, if you like monster movies, you know, if you like, I think probably B-level, right? Straight to video, that kind of thing. If you like that, right? The Sci-Fi Channel type of stuff. If you enjoyed Dino Gator, right? You possibly like Wolfman. You know, I think that's the best I can. It's still currently in the cinemas, so if it sounds like something you want to ingest, people, go get your wolf on.